made my way down to the shingle. No particular one. Just thought this one might be a little bit quieter. There was some other guy already here, sitting in the car waiting for it to get light. So I popped over the top, set a couple of rods up. I set my little bass rod up with a nice bright white lure. So in this low light conditions, I'll give that 15 or 20 minutes at the start, and I'll keep my eyes open for any signs. I've already seen a few mackerel splashing on the top. They're obviously being chased by bass, so that's the first thing I'm going to do. Get that rod out and just have a little explore down the edge here where I've seen them splashing. And the other guys up there. Yeah, one or two little indications. Quite a few birds about as well. So with no further ado, I'll get the gear and start having a go. Very strange. They virtually stopped as soon as I went down there with that lure rod. And I'm getting the odd one jump out here and there, but they were actually boiling when I first got here. As the light's coming up, they're getting less and less. So what I'm going to do is switch over now to the mackerel rod and I'll start chucking it out a bit further. I'll hedge my bets and put a Dexter's wedge on the bottom, so it gives me the best of both worlds. We'll just see if there's any mackerel a little bit further out. Keep an eye out in the edge here for the bass again. As soon as I see any activity, I can then just switch straight over to the lure rod again and pop it in amongst them. So let's see if we can get any mackerel. So as you can see, Dexter's wedge on the bottom for the casting weight, set of 4 feathers which I made in the video. 10-foot fiberglass composite rod, carp reel, 15-pound line. Mackerel, it might be a bass. There you go, string of 4, they all look like good size as well. So, quickly lay that down like that, pick the other one up. So there we have it, virtually second cast. I've got a string of 4 and you can see I brought my measuring stick The limit for these in the North Sea is 30 centimetres, and you can see on there that all three of these are just over. The bottom one you can actually see is taking that Dexter's wedge rather than the lure. So what I'll do is get these unhooked now, dispatch them and put them in my bucket, and then we'll get back out and have another go. Okay, that wasn't a bad start. The bottom one was on the Dexter's wedge, the rest were on the feather. See how that gets more. Just a question of changing the retrieve. You can either use a sweeping version. Can work. Working out what they want on the day. Casting that across, fanning it out, trying different ranges. They're in a certain spot. See something just jumped out there? That'll be a bang. Right near where my Dexter was. So if I see something like that, I'd have a short cast, see if I can pick it up. One small one on there. Sometimes if you pause when you've had that hit, several more will jump on. You see the guy up there just brought out 4. They look very small. That's an example of what I mean. So that one's a little joey. Typically undersized. So what I'll do, without touching the fish, you get hold of the shank of the hook where you've done the this knot, go down to the water, tip it upside down, that should drop off. You haven't got to touch the fish then. And he's away. You can do a lot, you can release them like that a lot. It does mean you haven't got to handle the fish. Now there is an old sort of saying that once you've touched the mackerel, it'll go away and die. I'm not quite sure if that works, but if you don't have to touch them, don't. You can clearly see that was undersized, so you might as well slip them back. Now I did say that the size limit for the North Sea is 30 centimetres. In different parts of the country it's slightly less. I believe it's 20 centimetres down south, but round here on the North Sea the limit's 30 and you're not allowed to take them home unless they're over 30. 30 centimetres or over. You will be checked now and again. There is some guys going around and they do checks for the authorities. So yeah, make sure you put all the small ones back. As soon as that hit the bottom, they've jumped on. Only small, I think, unless there's more than one. Slow, steady retrieve causes less tangle. So that one's clearly undersized, but he fell off the lure, so I've got to pick him up. But I'll slip him back, it should be okay. A lot of people say, why the hell do you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning? This is why for me. That's all part of it. Catching a fish is a bonus on mornings like this. It's absolutely perfect. Got a lovely sunrise. A few fish about. I'm going to plod along now with the lure rod and see if I can get some more. Don't get wet. Just about approaching high tide now. I don't know if you can see in the distance those birds. They're all working that part of the sea, they're all diving. You can see the fish boiling underneath them. Now see why I use a little 10-foot rod. What I'm going to do now is take that little wedge off the bottom and go back to my 3-ounce lead, see if I can get it out a little bit further, just in case they've moved offshore a little bit. There it is, 3 ounces lead is back on, still got 4 feathers. I'll see how it go out a little bit further now, just in case they've moved out a bit. With that on, it's probably gone 75 or 80 yards that. Straight into fish. It literally didn't even hit the bottom. So they moved slightly offshore. That's what I was saying about when you've got 4 on, if you can't reach them with 4, cut down to 2. You get that a little bit further and it makes a difference. This is only a small one. There might be more than one now. It's getting heavier as it's getting nearer. Just proved the point though about going a little bit further sometimes brings you a fish. No need to rush this, just gently bring them in. If you rush it and try and bully them in, you'll find you'll knock more off than you get. A nice, slow, steady retrieve. So yeah, there's a couple more on there. Sadly, they're both a little bit undersized. They're little Joey mackerel. So I'll slip them straight back and then get out again. Like I said before, shank of the hook. one of the reasons why I chose that pattern of hook. It's got a fairly long shank and it's fairly thick. It allows you to grip it, turn the hook upside down, they drop off straight in the water. So much easier than trying to unhook them. Probably gone 80 yards of that. Got one on there straight away. Feels tiny. Don't know if you can see just to the right of the sun over there. Birds are going absolutely mental. Okay, well it's gone a little bit quiet on the mackerel front. I think why it's high tide and there's not a lot of tide run, they've stopped feeding or they've gone further out. I can see the birds are working further out. So I thought I'd just go through the tackle that I mentioned and when we was doing the rig making video. So as I said before, I've just got a fairly cheap 10-foot fiberglass composite rod. Cheap, 25 quid I think I paid for that, and that was brand new. So it's 10 foot long and 2-piece. It's a real through action. It's a bit sloppy to be honest with you for any normal sort of fishing. But for this type of thing, it's absolutely ideal. And I've stuck on there, that's a 10,000 size old Shimano carp reel, 15-pound line, and there's a 30-pound shock leader on there as well. So that's finished off with a set of the lures that we made in the previous video. Set of 4 on there. And what I did earlier on as well, because I have had a little chuck and I have had a few fish, is I replaced the lead with a 35-gram Dexter's wedge, which is like, it's basically a metal lure with a treble hook on it. And I did manage to catch a couple of mackerel on that. So that's the tackle. The only other thing you may need is some sort of way of measuring your fish. So when you're catching mackerel, they've got to be a certain size before you can take them home. So for the North Sea, they've got to be 30 centimetres, which is up here on the measure. Anything over that or on the line, 30 or over, you can take them. Anything under that, they've got to be returned. So the only other thing you may need is something to put your catch in. So a nice big bucket, take your mackerel home in. Apart from that, you can travel very light. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you enjoyed making the lures that I showed you in the last one. Thanks everyone.